London, 1854. The city is alive, loud, crowded, and full of people trying to make something of their lives. Streets are packed with workers, street sellers, and children running between horse-drawn carts. But beneath all that noise and life, something terrible is hiding. Something invisible, something deadly. In the heart of London, in a neighborhood called Soho, thousands of people are living in small, cramped homes. These are poor families, laborers, seamstresses, bakers, and traders. They share walls, share water, and share everything. Life is hard, but it is theirs. And every single day, they walk to the same spot on Broad Street to collect their drinking water from a public pump. It is the heart of the community. Neighbors meet there. Children play nearby. Old men stop and rest. Nobody thinks twice about it. The water looks clean. It tastes fine. What could possibly go wrong? Then, on the night of the 31st of August 1854, everything changes. It starts quietly. A baby girl named Frances Lewis falls sick. Her mother, a young woman exhausted from long days of washing and caring for her family, notices something is wrong. The baby has diarrhea. It happens suddenly, violently. The mother washes the soiled nappies and throws the dirty water into the cesspit at the front of their house. She does not know, she cannot know, that this simple act will trigger one of the most terrifying disease outbreaks the city has ever seen. Within 24 hours, people all across the neighborhood begin to fall sick. First one family, then the next, then an entire row of houses. Men who were perfectly healthy in the morning are collapsing by evening. Women who walked to the pump that same afternoon are lying in bed, shaking, burning with fever, their bodies losing fluids faster than they can drink. Children, the most vulnerable of all, are dying before their parents can even understand what is happening. Cholera is not a quiet killer. It is cruel and fast. Within hours of infection, a person's body becomes completely overwhelmed. Vomiting, severe diarrhea, and extreme dehydration set in. The skin turns pale and cold. The eyes sink into the face. In the worst cases, a person can go from perfectly healthy to dead in less than a day. And in 1854, there is no cure. No hospital treatment that can stop it. No medicine that can reverse it. The only thing that can save you is clean water and time. And in Soho, nobody has either. In just 3 days, more than 100 people are dead. In 10 days, that number climbs to 500. The streets that were once full of noise and life are now quiet in the worst possible way. Doors are shut. Curtains are drawn. People are afraid to go outside. Families who can afford to leave the neighborhood are already packing their bags. Those who cannot, the poorest of the poor, have nowhere to go. They stay and they pray. The government, the doctors, the newspapers, everyone has a theory about why this is happening. The most popular explanation, believed by almost all the experts of the time, is something called the miasma theory. It says that diseases like cholera spread through bad air, through the terrible smell of rotting garbage, animal waste, and filth that filled the streets of Victorian London. It sounds reasonable. After all, the streets of Soho do smell awful, and sick people do tend to live in the dirtiest, smelliest parts of the city. The theory seems to make sense, but one man does not believe it. His name is Dr. John Snow. He is a physician, a doctor, living right there in Soho, just streets away from where the dying is happening. He is a quiet, serious man who does not say much but watches everything. He has been thinking about cholera for years. He has seen previous outbreaks, and he has noticed something that no one else has paid much attention to. Cholera does not behave like an airborne disease. It attacks the stomach and the gut, not the lungs. People who breathe bad air do not all get sick, but people who drink from certain water sources do. He has a hunch, a strong, powerful hunch, that cholera spreads through contaminated water, not through the air. Nobody believes him. The medical establishment thinks his idea is strange and unscientific. His colleagues shake their heads. The government ignores him. But Jon Snow does not give up. Instead, when the outbreak begins in Broad Street, he does something remarkable. He goes door to door, talking to the survivors and the grieving families. He asks every question he can think of. Who got sick? Who did not? Where did they get their water? What did they eat? Did they go outside? He listens carefully to every answer, and he writes everything down. And slowly, a picture begins to form. He notices that almost every person who has died or fallen sick has one thing in common. They all drank water from the Broad Street pump. He also notices something even more interesting. There is a large brewery very close to the pump. The workers at that brewery have not gotten sick, not a single one. Why? Because the brewery owner gives his workers beer to drink instead of water, and they have their own private well. They never touch the Broad Street pump. There is also a poorhouse nearby, a home for the destitute and homeless, with hundreds of people living inside. Again, not many deaths. Why? Because the poorhouse has its own water supply and does not use the Broad Street pump. Jon Snow takes all of this information and does something brilliant. He draws a map. On this map, he marks every single death with a small black bar. And when the map is finished, the truth is impossible to ignore. All the deaths are clustered tightly around one single spot: the Broad Street pump. The pump is the killer. The water is the weapon. Armed with his map and his notes, Jon Snow walks into a meeting with the local board of guardians, the officials responsible for the neighborhood. He stands up and presents his evidence, calm and clear. He tells them the pump must be disabled immediately. The officials are skeptical. This is a radical idea. No one has ever closed a water pump before over something like this. But the deaths are undeniable. The fear in the community is real. And Jon Snow's evidence is powerful. On the 8th of September 1854, the handle of the Broad Street pump is removed. It is such a simple act, such a small thing, removing a handle from a pump. But its impact is immediate. Without the pump, people stop drinking the contaminated water, and the deaths begin to slow. Within days, the outbreak is fading. Within weeks, it is over. The neighborhood begins to breathe again. But the story does not end there. Because even after the pump handle is removed, even after the deaths stop, the officials and the government still do not fully accept Jon Snow's theory. They give him some credit, yes, but they go back to believing in miasma. They say it was probably the smell from the local factory that caused the outbreak, or some other combination of bad conditions. They are not ready to accept that their beloved water supply could be the enemy. It is not until later, much later, that the full truth is finally uncovered. A clergyman named Reverend Henry Whitehead, who had initially set out to prove that the water theory was wrong, ends up finding the final piece of the puzzle. He discovers that the very first case, baby Frances Lewis, had been sick before the outbreak even began, and her soiled nappies, washed and drained into the cesspit near the house, had leaked into the ground. That cesspit was just 3 feet away from the Broad Street pump. The bacteria had seeped from the cesspit into the well, contaminating the very water that hundreds of people were drinking every day. It was the water. It had always been the water. Jon Snow was right. and the world slowly came to accept it. His map, his methodology, his careful door-to-door investigation, these things changed the course of medical history. He showed the world that you can fight a disease not just by treating the sick, but by finding the source and stopping it. He gave birth to a whole new field of science, epidemiology, the study of how diseases spread through populations. His work also helped push the British government to completely overhaul London's water and sewage systems. A great engineer named Joseph Bazalgette designed and built hundreds of miles of underground sewers beneath the city. Clean water was separated from waste. The streets were cleaner, the river was cleaner, and cholera never returned to London in the same devastating way again. Today, if you walk through Soho in London, you can find a replica of the old Broad Street pump. It stands there quietly on what is now called Broadwick Street, a small monument to one of the greatest public health discoveries in history. Nearby is a pub called the John Snow, named in honor of the man who figured it all out. Every year, a group of public health professionals gathers at that pump and removes the handle, just as it was removed on that September day in 1854, as a reminder of what one curious, determined doctor achieved. John Snow died in 1858, just a few years after his great discovery, at only 45 years old. He never fully got the credit he deserved while he was alive, but history has been kind to him.